Hello again. Since I showed you last time how to do the fiberglass work on this over my cardboard and duct tape, I thought I'd show you how to do body filler. Okay, so what I did was I painted this orange just so I could see better what was going on. Now I need to smooth it out, but because I put the orange paint on there, I had to rough up the surface. So I took a sanding sponge, sanded down the top of the surface. I didn't use a sanding board because of the high and low spots. This is only 0.8 of an inch thick, and I knew if I sanded down the high spots, there was a good chance I would sand through it. I don't want to do that. I want a nice solid surface for the body filler to stick to. So I used a sanding sponge because it would get down, knock down some of the high spots, but not too much, and get into some of the low spots. There were still some low spots that couldn't be gotten to, so I got some Scotch-Brite and went in there, and any place that I still saw a shiny paint, I hit with Scotch-Brite. When I was done with that, I got some rubbing alcohol, put it on a paper towel, and rubbed it to get all the dust off, because when you sand, it creates sanding dust. All right, so the surface is prepped relatively well. Not great, but good enough. Body filler. This is what I've been using lately. Z-Grip. It's not the least expensive. Don't use Bondo. That's my personal recommendation. The reason why is because when it hardens, it's like hard as a rock. It's really hard to sand. This stuff sands, really easily, especially in comparison. But it is quite a bit more expensive, but what you save in money on buying Bondo, you'll pay for 10 times over in extra work. Okay, on the top of this, it has a little chart showing you for this much body filler, that's how much hardener. The body filler is two-part, one part body filler and the other part hardener. So you put a little strip there. If it's a 4-inch circle, you put it all the way across. If it's an 8-inch in diameter circle, you put 2 strips. All right, the other thing I use are these squeegees. They are Bondo brand. They're relatively good. They are less than $2 at Walmart. You could pay $7-8 at some body place or whatever. So watch out. No point in paying more than you have to. So I got these metal pans at Dollar Tree for, now it's $1.25, but $1.25. They're cheap. The body putty doesn't stick to them. If you clean them quickly after you use them, you can reuse them a bunch of times. At some point, the body filler is going to harden on you accidentally because you're working over here and forget about it. Throw them away when you're done with them. I scooped the body filler out of the bucket here, can with something like this. Get a little spatula. This one actually works a little better. Get all the excess out. Put it onto here. All right. Now, according to the instructions here, I should probably use all the way across the diameter and another half. What I found out is it hardens really quick if you do that. Okay, you can put less in there and it still works. It just takes longer to harden. So what I'm going to do is only go across it once. All right. So even if it takes a little bit longer to harden, that's okay with me. Gives me more time to work with it. Okay. So what you've got to do now is you've got to mix this together. You can't stir it because you'll get air bubbles in it. If you get air bubbles in it, then you're going to end up with air bubbles in your final product. You don't want that. So what you're supposed to do is put it in and what they call fold it over. Okay. And basically you're squeezing this in. What you're watching for is the color to change from that light color that it was to a mixture of the light color and the blue. Okay. You want to make sure you get this mixed really well, because any place that doesn't get mixed will, with enough hardener, will basically never harden. And you definitely don't want to find soft spots. But by the same time, the second I put that hardener on here, this stuff is starting to harden. So the other key is don't mix any more than you can spread in, I don't know, 5-10 minutes, something like that. Okay. All right. So I know because I stuck this in there that there is some right on this edge that has no hardener in it. So what I do is I take 2 of these, clean that off, okay. and then I go mix it again. Like I said, the clock is ticking here, so you don't want to spend too much time doing this. Also, it's a little bit cold today, so this is a little stiffer than it would normally be. Okay, not a big deal. All right, next step is to just get the stuff on here. Okay. I put this under here so that anything that falls and you just spread it like, I don't know, cake batter or whatever you want to talk about that spreads like this. All right, so my first pass, I'm just trying to get this down. I'm not trying to get it ultra smooth. I'm just trying to get it a basic layer across here. There's a depression right here that I see, so I'm going to have to fill that. Obviously, ideally, that depression wouldn't be there. It is, I have to deal with it. Same thing as this hump here. Ideally, it wouldn't be there. So again, I'm just going to deal with it as best as I can. Come along this edge. Fill this right there. Okay. So my goal now is to simply get rid of the rest of this so I don't waste it. So I'm not going to try to get it flat and smooth. I'm just going to try to use it up. Okay, once I've done the first layer like that, where I've got it out, now I'm going to try to smooth it out as best as I can. The smoother I get it now, the less work I have to do later. So this wider one covers more area at once. I don't know if you can see right now as I'm working, but I can tell it's getting hard. It's getting a little stiffer than it was before. You want to use pressure on here to get it to lay down. All right, and you can see now I've got extra stuff. I can also see that there's a low spot here. What I found is when there's a low spot, if I can build up each side to be the height that I want it to, then I'll sand it smooth, and this area right here will be really easy to fill in next time. I'll just take the body filler, put it over there, run this over, and that will smooth it out. Okay, I'm going to where the edge of the fiberglass cloth is, because that's not stuck to the car, it's actually stuck to the cardboard. So I can pull that off. I'll pull the cardboard off, and I'll have a sheet of fiberglass and body filler that I can stick back on here. Okay, I've just got a tiny bit of this left over. I'm going to take it here. At some point, this stuff will get so stiff that you can't work with it anymore. Honestly, at that point, give it up. It's going to end up so rough and so difficult to work with that you're going to spend more time trying to get it smoothed and sand it off. At some point, it will actually turn into kind of like, I don't know, gum or something like that, where you literally cannot spread it anymore. All right. Okay. I'm going to scrape this as best as I can. The better I scrape this, the easier it's going to be to reuse this. If you leave all this on there, when it dries, it's going to be rough, and you can't get it smooth on the spreader, and then you can't smooth it easily here either. All right, again, I'm just using up what's here. Okay, good enough. All right, it takes, I think, about 15 minutes for this to dry. So for you, it would be like watching paint dry. Same for me. So I'm not going to do that, but you can see this went from a very wavy, rough surface to much smoother. I am not an expert at this. I know guys that can use these and they can lay it dead smooth on their first pass. That's not a talent I have. I get it as close as this and just say, okay, I use some very coarse sandpaper, knock it down a couple of times. Once I get it to where it's fairly flat, then I can do a better job. But my first pass always requires quite a bit of sanding. All right. So rather than put you through the pain of watching I'm going to go ahead and shut off the video. I purposely was not trying to fill in all of this area, because once I get this cured and smooth, then I can see what's going on here. I haven't decided the exact shape I want here. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and put a thin layer of body filler and then start sanding away the areas that I think are too high and basically shape it from there. So I don't know what I'm looking for here. I'm going to let it emerge as I work. All right. So that's it for today. I will see you next time. Like and subscribe.